Okay, I'm revisiting a violator of the week from last week, City of Tukwila, but we're unveiling some new key details and why those violations matter and how this is probably just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you for watching. My name's Glen Morgan, and this is We the Govern. So it's not so much the violator of the week, it's really the violator of last week, but I wanted to give a little bit more detail about the City of Tukwila and the violations that were uncovered last time. Just to recap, City of Tukwila is located in King County, biggest county in Washington State. I have a lot of family history in this area, so I do pay attention to the city, sometimes probably more than some of the others. My great-grandfather's farm is a flower farm there, where South Center is today. Years ago, back when the city was really young, and my grandfather's farm was actually up on the hill. My dad had an office there. A lot of my family went to Foster High School, so there's a lot of ties that I have to this community, so I like to pay attention to what's going on. And as we mentioned last week, 4 of the 7 elected officials on the city council did violate Washington State's campaign finance laws and were exposed to the PDC for undisclosed pay junkets paid for by leftist political groups like New American Leaders, Water Now Alliance, and the Center for Popular Democracy. It wasn't just them. However, the City of Tukwila staff very clearly tried to conceal expenditures from the public. And this is really where I want to get into some more detail here, because part of what I discussed last week was just the fact that Laurel Humphrey, whose title is a legislative analyst, whatever that is, but essentially what she was doing in her emails that we exposed was attempting to conceal from public records, if she could, via some private emails, but also just conceal the source of funding. This was really an effort to obscure how this money was coming in and the fact that these were gifts and junkets and kind of lavish junkets for these elected officials. And the reason why I kind of point this out is that city staff, and Laurel Humphrey specifically, is not a disinterested bureaucrat just trying to do her job pushing paper. She is an engaged political person who does frequently make donations nearby in the city of Desean, which is next door to Tukwila, to other leftists on a regular basis. She is very involved in the political process. And so this affiliation with leftist politicians just nearby where she lives in Desean would carry over into her job in the city of Tukwila with these leftist organizations, and being willing to protect them and conceal this information from the public and hide it from the public, even if that meant breaking the law and ensuring that the elected officials were breaking the law. This was an active engagement. This wasn't a disinterested party or somebody who just stumbled into this. There were a lot of emails that were uncovered at the, when I filed the records request here that clearly point out this was a specific effort that she made. And one of the things that really mattered in this case, I didn't really get a chance to discuss last week, is that these concealed expenditure gifts were for explicitly illegal political campaign activity. And when I say that, I mean that these organizations were taking these politicians on junkets and in some cases teaching them how to run better political campaigns, how to run for office more effectively, how to win elections, and things like that. And that's explicitly illegal. New American Leaders in particular emphasizes this, run, win, lead kind of motto that they have for training these people to run for office. And so the city of Tukwila is not only hiding this information, but they're paying for it, which is clearly illegal. It's specifically illegal under RCW 4217A555, which says specifically you can't use public resources for political purposes, which is maybe one of the reasons why Laurel Humphrey, this employee who worked at the city of Tukwila, was taking this roundabout, secretive kind of way to conceal this information from the public and figure out, basically make it so that the public wouldn't know very easily what was going on. And of course, then the elected officials who took advantage of these lavish gifts of fancy meals and hotels and stays and all the other stuff that these outside organizations gave to them, then that's all hidden. She's able to hide all that. And what was also interesting is that one of the things that I did at the time is we basically collected all the expenditures, all the income, all the checks that came into the city. We got all that stuff on a records request just to detail to follow the money, to verify that the money came in and that it actually showed up the way that it was supposed to. And I'm going to point out that some of that money has not been accounted for still to this day. Those books have been closed. There's no more changing of those books right now. And this is from a couple years ago, and some of that money hasn't been accounted for. And so either it is lost through incompetence, the city staff has taken that cash for themselves, or the elected officials might have taken it. We don't know yet. But the reality is there's a little bit more to the story than just a simple campaign finance violation and a ethics violation that these elected officials and this employee have been involved in here. There's more to see here. This probably is just the beginning domino in a series of stories that will inevitably start to expose some of the problems in the city of Tukwila. And it's more than just the city of Tukwila. It's going to be more cities and jurisdictions around Washington state that are also committing violations of a similar kind. Because politicians and bureaucrats, they tend to follow the crowd. And so they're going to be following the crowd. They're going to be breaking the law, the same law that other people are breaking. Because if others are doing it and getting away with it, well, why not me, right? That's how they do it. That's how they think. That's how they operate. And you can see in the correspondence that the elected officials had with the Public Disclosure Commission and just the emails that we uncovered in these records requests that this is just normal behavior for these guys. So we're going to probably find that there are so much stories out there throughout the state as I follow down the rabbit hole here and find these other politicians that are also breaking the same laws and exposing them to the public. I think we have to do that. That's an important thing to do. Now remember, when you hear stories like this, I know people are furious, and other activists who are trying to find similar stories or going down the rabbit hole to uncover corruption or incompetence or whatever the issue is in their local government, it's very easy to feel like you're totally alone in that process. And you wonder, am I the only honest person around, or am I the only person that sees there's something wrong here? The reality is you aren't. There's a lot of other people that if you're willing to expose the truth, do a good job, and confront and shine a light on what's happening in these places, that you'll get a lot more attention and you won't be so alone anymore. And more importantly, the elected officials or the bureaucrats or the special interests you're uncovering are going to be exposed in a way that hopefully it changes their behavior and perhaps it changes the direction in where those jurisdictions are going. It's up to you, though, in the end. It's up to you and me and others, creating teams of people that get together that are willing to actually expose the truth. And it's the only way to make change. It's at least the first step in that path. So I want to encourage you to be more engaged and involved in the process. I did use the city of Tukwila as kind of an example case for some activists. And I realized that when I looked back at the video I did last week, it wasn't as complete. So hopefully this gives you a little bit bigger picture on why it matters. And if you want to learn more, please feel free to go to wethegovern.com. I have some other articles about the city of Tukwila linked down below, and also the source documents related to this case. And in case you want to share it with others, please feel free to do so. Don't forget to subscribe to our free newsletter, and feel free to support us if you want financially as well at my website at wethegovern.com. But the main thing is the future belongs to those who show up, and I'm encouraging you all to show up.